I could have sat here and used this knife for a month or two and got used to it and figured it out, but I thought it'd be fun just to come out here and wing it. This is literally the first time I've ever used one of these knives. Ah. All right. Canadian belt knife. This is the Grohman D.H. Russell #1. Their original Canadian belt knife. I opted for the one in carbon steel. I like carbon steel. I like getting that pretty patina, all that staining on the blade. I think it gives it character. I feel like carbon steel's tougher. I've never used a Canadian belt knife before. This is the first time. I was always curious about this knife. It's a very interesting design. Looks like it would be sufficient for hunting, and I believe that's one of the things they use this knife for up in Canada. These Grohmans are, as far as I know, the equivalents of buck knives down in the USA. So, obviously they look a lot different. Let's do a little tri-stick here. See how it feels, see how it works. Make a pot hook first. I could have sat here and used this knife for a month or two and got used to it and figured it out, but I thought it'd be fun just to come out here and wing it. This is literally the first time I've ever used one of these knives. I want to see how she does with some notches. Yeah, and it looks awkward. The blade, like the whole thing looks kind of awkward the way that the handle and the shape is. I like the way it kind of fits in there. My palm, my finger, two fingers lock in up here pretty good. I didn't sharpen this blade up any more than it was coming straight from the factory. Do a little saddle. Now we'll do a L7. So we'll start with a 7 notch. Just trying to find the sweet spots along the blade right now as I'm doing this. Nice clean cuts. Do a log cabin notch. When I do a log cabin notch, I want to make sure I can get the tip of my blade in between so I can clean it out right. So what I'm trying to say here, you get that. You want to get it spaced out enough that your blade will fit in there. If you can. I mean, there's times where I can't, and you just got to work with the tip. Just the tip. So after I make that little notch, then I'll go about it the same way as I would making that L7 notch. I just start on one end, work my way down. It's gonna be my first time seeing how it is cutting towards myself. And obviously you can spin this thing around, you know, be safe. Spin her around and cut your other side if you want. I like to try and practice to where I never have to flip my tri-stick back and forth. So, holding the blade up here, it feels pretty good. Feel like I'm getting in there pretty good. So always be mindful where your blade is. You know, when I'm cutting towards myself, I usually have my elbow locked in somewhere, like I got it locked in along my leg here. That way, when I'm cutting towards myself, I can't slip and come back, stab myself. And basically all I'm using, I got my elbow locked in here on my thigh, and I just work my wrist. You gotta work your wrist. Nice and easy. Take it easy. You know, you start to get used to it after a while, but it's really awkward at first, especially if you've been told your whole life that, oh, I think the train's coming. Especially you've been told your whole life not to cut towards yourself. I hear it. I'll keep going at it. Train's always on time, isn't it? Good boys. Really nice to be able to work this tip down in here. That's what I was talking about. You want to make this notch wide enough to be able to get your tip in. Alright, so got my pot hanger notch right here. We got one of those L7 notches right here. And I got a log cabin notch right here. Next, I will do another L7 notch. This one I'm going to be cutting towards myself again. You know, remember, get your elbow locked in on your knee if you're sitting there, whatever. And I kind of got this knife locked into my hand. I'm not gripping a hold of the blade. I've just got it locked in my fingers. Kind of right in there like that. Feels actually really good. You just gotta get some time whittling and get used to cutting towards yourself. You're gonna cut yourself if you're using your knife. If you're not using your knife and you're too careful and scared, you're never gonna get anything done. The key to the whole deal is to not have to go to the hospital for some stitches. But I've slipped plenty of times. And you slip and you live and you learn. Just don't want to do any major damage is the whole point. You try not to cut yourself at all. You know, you start off slow. Take it easy. You know, you work your way up to kind of, it becomes natural the same way as cutting forward. You just got to get out there and whittle. Get out there and, as William Collins would say, get out there and whittle on a stick. And he always says bring a lot of extra band-aids. And there's a reason for that. Because you are going to cut yourself. Don't be scared. Just try not to do too much damage. You'll be alright. But you're never going to get better with your knife unless you sit around and do a little whittling. And it can be fun if you have nothing better to do. You know, there's plenty of times where I'll be out at camp somewhere and I'll just kick back and start whittling on a stick. You just start carving. Just have some fun with it. Get good with your knife. You're never going to get good with it unless you use it. Another way I kind of cut towards myself is I'll kind of, you know, I'll use my thumb on the blade. So now I've got this stop here. As long as I'm doing slight downward pressure. And, you know, you can cut towards yourself like that too. Just got to be real careful. Because I have this stop here. My blade's not going to go through that. And I'm not, you know, pressing real hard in there. I'm just nice and finesse. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. You don't need to get all crazy with it. So, there's another L7 notch. Let's do a little saddle notch. Saddle notch, I just kind of, you know, you make your mark in the middle. It's where your stop cut's gonna go. I believe that's what's called a stop cut, but I'll make that in the middle here. Then we're going to just saddle it down. Make a nice little swooping motion. And all of these notches on this stick, I'm trying to get down about halfway through to where I start hitting some pith in the center. You'll get better at it as you go, if you've never done that before. So I kind of dug down in there. Burgle found himself some trash, of course. So yeah, I just always try and make this a little bit of a swooping cut down to my stop cut. This isn't the best saddle notch I ever did, I can assure you. But we'll do the trick. That's a pretty ugly saddle notch, but whatever. I gotta touch this side up over here. I'll make it. It's gonna be a little bigger than my other notches, but that's all right. Just try and make it symmetrical if you can. A little better. A little ugly, but that's all right. Yeah, right, Burgle? Yeah, it's a big, long one. You're crazy. I know. All right, look out, I got a knife. All right, here's another one. Let's get on it. I don't know what this is called, but it's a good way to kind of hone your skills a little bit. Make yourself a ring around. And have a big enough gap. Be able to get your blade in there again. Get yourself on the other side here. So, working your way down in there. See if I can't get y'all in a good view. Burgle. All right, look at it. All right, start working your way down along your score line. Look at that fathead. Little ways. Nice and evenly if you can. Kind of working my way down. As if you were doing a beaver chew, but you don't want to go all the way through. And then sit here and try and get that all cut off. Then you want to do it back this way. Same thing towards you. Or spin your stick. Patience. Sometimes I hurry and I screw it up. That's just how it is. Nobody's perfect. All right. Get yourself a little ring. One more thing I can't stress enough. You never want to be working down in here. This is the triangle of death, right in here. You got some main arteries up in the insides of your thighs, and if you poke one of those with a sharp knife or a dull knife and you stick that artery, I think you have about a minute to live. So instead of having to worry about trying to put yourself a tourniquet on, I'd say stay out of the inside. When you're working with a knife, you know, I always try and work out like this, just outside that triangle of death. Just remember it as the triangle of death. Never cut in there. Now let's do one that's squared off. Same thing, you want to ring it around. Make a nice ring. Score it nice and deep. Remember to do it so you can get your tip in there. Sparkle, back it up. Now, instead of making a continuous little ring around like your beaver chewing, I guess, you start on one end, and I like trying to make it symmetrical, so I've got some notches on this side. So I'm going to make a flat cut in between these two score marks, down in there. Same way you would your log cabin notch. Nice and easy. You start one way, get her down a little bit, score it off, and then however you feel comfortable, bring it back the other way. Finish that side off. Doesn't have to be perfect yet. Just do what you can. Kind of flip this up. Back this way. Get her nice. Alright. So that's halfway alright. You got your one side flat. You see that? See how I got that flat? And we're going to make it better. This is going to be the guide marks. We're going to do the opposite side now. Try and get down in there without screwing it up. Try and make it nice and even and symmetrical. If it's looking good, nice and even. Now we're going to work on this side. Do the same thing. And flip it over and do the other side. Oh! Well, I didn't do a good enough stop cut there. See what happened? Nice deep stop cut, and you gotta focus and concentrate. You start, hurrying it, and that's what happens. Also, I'm trying to, dig slightly in with my blade so I can go angle down to that stop cut. So I got that side. We'll go back, hit this one. See, I just did that again. A little too much. So I'm just gonna cut some of that off real quick. That's all right. Let's keep working it. If you screw up, you get screwed up like that, it's all right. That's all. What this is all about is practice. Practicing notches, practicing knife work. Over time you get better, you get good at it. Mine aren't always perfect. Actually, I don't think I've ever carved a perfect tri-stick. I just try and get better each time I do it. We want to get this down a little more. Get this side just a little more. Try and make it look nice. Nice as you can. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, here you go. So you got a nice little square in here. I don't know what kind of knot you'd call that. I'm sure somebody knows. But we got a round one here. Got a square one here. Maybe this would be something good if you're like trying to carve yourself some furniture or something. I don't know. Now that I've stripped some of the bark, I'm just going to I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna strip the rest of this bark off down here. Nice and easy. Try to just get the bark if you're doing this. Nice and easy. Maybe take out that inner bark, that cambium layer. Nice and easy. Take the bark off and nobody knows you screwed up. Except you. There you go. So what you want to do is you make a saddle notch on opposite ends, directly on opposite sides of your stick. Make a stop cut on both sides, not all the way around, don't ring it. But we'll start right here, do a stop cut, and do your saddle. Let's try and make a better saddle this time. back. All right, I got a little bit of a saddle notch on this side. Clean that up. So what you can do is find where your center is, go around and score your mark on the other side. Do the same thing, another saddle notch. Nice and easy. Got half a saddle there. Do the other side. All right. So, see how we got that right here? Saddle notch on each side. Now, you just start on one end, centered in here, and you start boring. And this knife seems to be really good for this. Start making yourself a little hole. Try and get in there a little bit. Doesn't have to be all the way through. Then get around on the center on the other side. Try and find your center best you can. Start boring on the other side. Just, you know, I like to do it back and forth a little bit. Almost through. Get yourself a little twig or something. There you go. You hang it up in the tree. When I'm making cuts, you don't have to try and just go super deep. Just nice and easy. Finesse it. You don't have to take a ton out each swipe. You want to do more controlled cuts. Maybe I'll get on this other side and start doing it. Nice and easy. You don't have to get crazy with it. People want to start going all quick and digging in and stuff, and you don't have to do that. As long as you take a little off each time, you get to where you're wanting it to be. And then you don't take too much off, right? Once you take it off, you can't put it back. Now comes the tricky part. Start nice and easy. Just a little V-notch in there, just a little bit at a time. Take too much, you're going to split it. And this is already a little bit split. I can see it. But just be careful. You don't need a big old V-notch here. Yeah, this is already split. So, yeah, see that? I already split it. But it's alright, because once that happens, let's get yourself down in here on each side. I think that's an arrow knock. That's what this would be. I'm not great at it. But, alright, you got yourself a knock there. And then you can tie yourself some paracord or something down right around here. And you got yourself an arrow knock. It's not the best arrow knock ever, but I guess it'd do. Recap. We got pot hanger notch for getting the pot. Got a L7. We got a log cabin right here. Got another L7 notch. Got a big old saddle notch. Got this cylinder thing notched in there. Maybe if you're trying to store a little cordage or something on a stick, maybe you make one like this. And I got this square notch thingy, whatever that's called. I'm sure one of y'all knows. I got this thing here with the hole in it. You can tie some string through there or something. I don't know, do something with that. Anybody know what you do with this? Let me know. Then I got my arrow knot. There's plenty of other notches to learn and know, and it's fun, but there's a few of them to practice. Some of y'all, I'm sure, some of y'all know all those. Maybe some of y'all don't. Maybe some of y'all are just starting to learn how to use a knife and do some carving, and you want to learn. That's a good way to build your knife skills, is by doing notches. Just sitting here whittling on a stick, carving on a stick. You could sit here and sit by the fire and just work on a stick. And you could even just sit there and carve a bunch of pot hanger notches along this stick. Or if you're trying to work on a certain notch, you know, maybe you want to do a bunch of log cabin notches. Like, I could definitely work on this saddle notch more. Start at one end and do opposites all the way down. Just mess with it, work with it. What's up, burglar? You being a good boy? You smell like the earth, dude. You having fun? I know you are. You're a good puppa. Is Bonzo picking on you? Is he? Is he? I know. You're just a big boy, aren't you? You're turning into a big boy. All right, look out. I got a knife. Get your balls out of my way. Come on. All right, so what do I think about this Grohman D.H. Russell Canadian belt knife? You know, just first impressions, initial results. I like it. It looks weird to me, but like just different ways to grip this blade, it works. For me, the ergonomics work. One thing about this knife, this knife in particular I don't really care for is just that it's so slick and slippery. It looks good, this rosewood, but it's just slick in the hand. And there's a possibility I could be locked in, but if you're doing a little field dressing some game or something, you don't want your hands slicking and slipping around. Now, the way this knife is designed, I can't tell you if it'd be all right or not. And I have plenty of other knives I like to take hunting with me, so maybe at some point I'd take this out. Might be able to field dress a deer with it. But I think, you know, until I actually get this out and put some work in, maybe, you know, dress out a raccoon or a groundhog with it or something, if Bonzo gets one, I'm not really going to know how it is. But obviously these knives have been around forever, so the people up in Canada like this knife for sure, and I'm sure there's people down here that like it as well. And I don't know, the more I use it, I guess the more I'll get used to it. I like it so far. First impressions, I mean, I think, you know, this blade profile, this kind of leaf shape, worked great for doing these notches. Like, it was easy breezy with this knife. I feel like I hear another train coming. So let's see what's up. This is definitely, I like this knife. It's a cool knife. I'm glad that I got it. And it was fun to carve on a tri-stick with it. And to get better with this knife, you know, I'm going to carve many more tri-sticks at some point. You know, you just sit around by the fire and, you know, get yourself a good old stick. Maybe, you know, another thing, be better to start off with some softer wood if you're going to be doing notches. You know, it's just a little easier going on your blade and on you. Not as hard as using some hardwood. So maybe find yourself a nice poplar branch or something. Pretty cool, 2 trains. We got lucky today. What do y'all think of the Canadian belt knife? Do any of you have one? How do you like it? I'm curious to see, you know, what other kind of tasks I can use this blade for. They make one that is a bigger survival knife size with a bigger, heavier duty blade. This one is just their original basic one, but they have different sizes. I think there's a smaller one and there's some larger ones. It's a Grohman DH Russell. But it's a cool knife. I like it. It's going to be fun to learn how to use it and get used to it. I appreciate y'all watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!